And what we wanted to do is kind of lay out some of the things that we do at InsideView in how we deal with leads and how we deal with data internally, and ultimately what we feel is the best practice for everyone moving forward. So kind of jumping right in, I always like to kind of say, okay, well, what is ultimately the problem and what are we trying to solve? And certainly one of the things that we noticed at InsideView, what we see with a lot of our clients is the problem inherently is a disconnect between sales and marketing data, and ultimately not really being able to provide enough clarity and context around what's truly going on within your prospect database and what's really motivating people to even be on your website and engage with your brand in general. And ultimately, what we first started out doing, if you kind of go back a couple of years, is once we started really focusing in on inbound marketing, we started to have a really large influx of inbound leads that would come to a website, and then all of a sudden we had a problem of needing to really try to figure out and prioritize the leads that were going to be followed up on sales. So first really stab at this problem was to implement a basic score that would be a combination of kind of demographic values, right? That was kind of like the first thing. So it was basically a numeric representation of how closely that lead matched an ideal prospect for your business. And then as things like marketing automation started to get a lot more popular, and just general behavioral information that you could track and put into your CRM system, we started to layer in behavior, and we came up with a really great kind of model, which is based on a demographic value informed by behavioral interest. And combining those two should really give your sales team the best way to kind of prioritize. And we've been kind of running like that for a couple of years now. A lot of people are doing this, and essentially one of the problems that it really provides or really causes within the system is the lead scores typically are never really fully understood by a sales team. So they're just kind of going along within a basic kind of letter grade in most cases, which is this leads an A or a B or something like that. But that never really kind of provides context. And then you start coming into and looking at just basic data problems that most organizations have within their CRM, which really kind of calls into question a lot of demographic information that would be in there. And so when you start really taking into account unreliable demographic information and a lead score that's not really understood by a sales team, you really start to kind of compound the problem, which is what we see a lot within our clients right now, which is sales still thinks that the leads that are being generated from marketing aren't the greatest in the world and are not really sure on how or why that they should be following up on them. And part of the reason why I even put the picture up here is kind of where we're at right now is essentially like shopping for a house just by looking at blueprints, right? It's a little bit crazy, but just by relying on kind of two individual points of data like that, or two different types of data like that, you're not really able to kind of put this into context for your sales team to be able to move a lead or really highlight the most valuable leads that are actually in your system. And a better solution that we think, and what we've been kind of building out and what we implemented InsideView, is kind of adding on another dimension onto this kind of scoring model and into our database. And it's something that we essentially call business triggers. And essentially what this is, these are going to be relevant insights that are going to be kind of pushed in into your leads and really kind of provide a lot of the context around why a certain prospect is engaging, why they're choosing to get to your website now, and really provide a lot of context around why they're engaging with your brand in general. And essentially, it's like taking a blueprint model of a house and kind of looking at it in terms of a picture, actually standing there right in front of it. You get a much different view of a house by being able to actually walk around, understand the spacing, look at the color patterns and all that, than you would just by relying on a blueprint. And right now, pretty much everyone, if you're even doing lead scoring, you're really just looking at your leads across two dimensions, which, it's helpful, it gets you a certain level of results, but ultimately, you're not going to be able to kind of take the next step and really kind of help your sales team have a better conversation and really help your prospects have a more relevant experience within your brand. So essentially kind of adding some of this stuff in is essentially like if you kind of take it, really kind of think through a lot of your lead scoring and your marketing databases. You've got this idea of demographic information, and demographic information is going to be stuff like the type of company that they're at, so the number of employees they have, the actual amount of revenue they're generating, industry values, things like that. And so this was kind of the first step to kind of getting into some sort of prioritization in terms of your leads and being able to really take advantage of that in your nurture campaigns, marketing campaigns, by informing segmentations and being able to do custom messaging based on a lot of this demographic values that you've been collecting and likely have in your database. And then by adding in behavior information, you're able to inform that information. You're able to inform your prospects a little bit more and prioritize it by being able to look at who's actually engaging, where are they engaging, what types of things are they reading on your website, what are they really gravitating towards, and what problems are they really looking to solve. And then ultimately adding in this idea of business triggers really allows you to have a broader view and kind of contextualize a lot of that information. And a really great example that I always like to kind of give around this type of information is a couple of months ago at InsideView, actually, we decided to kick off a brand new kind of BI buying process. We decided as a company that we wanted a new BI solution. We wanted to unify reporting across all of the business. And we had just hired a new VP of operations, and she was going to lead the charge and really kind of own that process. And what we decided as a committee is that one of my direct reports is actually going to go in and do a lot of the research initially. So we kind of sent her on her way, and she started doing a bunch of research, filling out forms on a website and requesting more information. And an interesting little tidbit that came back during that process was we only actually heard back from about 40% of the inquiries that we made, which was astounding to me. And as a marketing guy, I understand probably what happened, right? The title of the person requesting the information wasn't all that high on their list. InsideView might not necessarily be in their sweet spot because of revenue or size or something like that. So the combination of the behavior and the demographics weren't enough to kind of prioritize a lead high enough for a salesperson to kind of reach out and start that initial sales process. And one of the things that they were really missing was that idea of a business insight, which was the fact that we had a new VP of operations that had just come on board, and we were making an investment in our overall reporting and analytics infrastructure at InsideView. Had those companies had access to that, I'm sure we probably would have been a little bit more prioritized for the sales team. But it was amazing to me because only 40% of the people that we were even interested in had gotten back to us, and which means that 60% of the companies we were looking at, they weren't even in the game because we couldn't get them on the phone or really get answers to some of the questions that we have. So it's a really kind of important example, I think, of what happens a lot within most marketing orgs, where an over-reliance on demographics, which tend to be a little bit less accurate than most people think, and behavioral information doesn't paint that complete picture. And once you start combining that type of information with business insights and business triggers, you start to get a much better feel, for what's in your prospect database. And you could really start using these things in pretty interesting ways, both to inform a lead score, but also to make your marketing programs a lot more successful and relevant to your prospects. And I wanted to kind of set all that up because a lot of the recommendations that we have is really around that concept of treating your prospects a little bit more human and trying to look at them in a much broader sense, and really trying to understand the motivations and behaviors that are causing the behavior that you're seeing, which we think is a much better view into your prospects and ultimately makes your sales team a lot better to be able to go out and have some of those initial sales conversations. So a couple of the 5 steps kind of as an overview, and we'll go into it a little bit more here. Very kind of simple process that to me, it's still amazing how many companies don't have a basic process like this, but it's 5 relatively easy steps. So a lot of this is probably no-brainer stuff, but step 1 is going to be make sure your database is clean and you've got a good data policy in place, because that really does help that demographic area of your lead score and how you're really working with and prioritizing leads. If you don't have a clean or reliable set of data, your demographic scores are never really going to be that relevant, and any type of nurturing or marketing you're going to be able to do based on some of that demographic information is always going to be a little bit off base. The other thing that we recommend is actually reducing form fields with some sort of automated enrichment solution. And this actually does a couple different interesting things, and we'll get into that a little bit more, but suffice it to say, it's going to help keep your clean database clean moving forward and start to enforce some of your data policies that you would have put in place. And then the third step is going to be adding in these business triggers to fuel your campaigns and inform a lead score, which ultimately gives you that kind of 3V view into your prospect database, which makes it really it makes it a lot easier for you to understand what's happening, what's actually going on in your database, and makes it easier for your sales team to prioritize and understand how and why they should be following up on the leads that you're delivering them. And then once you get those first 3 things in, the last 2 are basically kind of leveraging some of those business insights and business triggers to actually pinpoint interesting moments that you can help tell a story of the lead to your sales team, and then ultimately make sure you've got something in place that's going to help your sales team on that initial call. So let's dig in a little bit and go into step 1. And step 1, like I said, is really kind of cleaning your database. And the importance of a clean database, I think, really can't be understated. Database and data in general will degrade extremely quick. Generally, in the best case scenario, about 5% of your database is going to degrade on a yearly basis, and it could be as high as 20%, which means that the leads that you generated or users that you might even have, not getting outside of just the lead conversation, but your customer database could be pretty inaccurate, and that's going to cause a bunch of issues, not only for reporting, but also in just email marketing. If you have a strong email marketing program, you're going to see high bounce rates, which can cause a lot of issues with spam and things like that. So having a clean database and a reliable database really allows you to trust the information and market more effectively. Things like creating segments and informing marketing personas are really kind of basic types of things that you should be doing, and it's all based on the quality of data that you may or may not have in your database. So having the system in place is going to be very important to kind of moving forward and being able to do just sell and market into your existing customer and prospect database that you have. So the second step, once you kind of go in and kind of update a lot of or make sure you've got this clean data and clean database, the next thing you really want to do is look at some sort of enrichment solution. And essentially what enrichment is it's going to take basic information about a lead, so something like maybe like a 3-field form, for instance. And essentially what it's going to do is it's going to turn that very basic information into a more complete lead profile in your CRM, right? And this does a couple of different things which I think are interesting. The first is it's going to help with your form conversions. So reducing the number of forms on your lead capture forms is going to have an increase in just overall conversion rate. So that's going to impact top of funnel lead generation, which is always a good thing. The other thing which I actually think is interesting is it's going to start making your data a lot more accurate within your CRM. One of the interesting things that a lot of people tend to do is they'll ask for basic information that they think like company size and revenue size, right? And it's a very interesting concept because those types of information is probably a lot more inaccurate than you would think. We did just an interesting, and I've been saying this for years, right? Like, just it's unreliable. You shouldn't really do it if it's kind of user generated information like that from a form. And one of the things that we just did kind of around the office, we went around and just asked everyone, how many employees does InsideView have, and how much revenue do we make on a yearly basis? And only I think 15% of the employees were able to actually go in and answer correctly. And it really goes into a lot of interesting things, but depending on the types of people that you're marketing to, they might honestly have no idea about the company size or the revenue impact or the revenue that the company is generating. And then for certain other types of data, they might not necessarily be telling you the truth on a form, right? If they are just interested in a white paper, they might not necessarily give you a good phone number, or they might not give you a good company size, because they probably feel like they probably know that you're going to be scoring them and prioritizing them. So an enrichment solution is going to make that type of information a lot more accurate, and it's also going to reduce your form fields. The other interesting things that it's going to do is it's going to really kind of help solidify a lot of the data that you have, especially around free-form data, things like revenue, things like industry, which is ultimately going to make your segmenting a lot easier, because you don't have to deal with a lot of free-form and changing and basically user-generated content, which is just a nightmare to deal with in a lot of ways. So ultimately, having this system in place, which is going to help solidify your database in general, is going to give you a couple different benefits like that, and something we highly recommend. Moving on, kind of the next kind of step within this process is really taking this information and then adding business triggers and business insights into that database, which you can then use to really start making your campaigns a lot more relevant and a lot more effective, and ultimately helping you to score and prioritize your leads a lot easier. And it's going to give you a better view into your leads, and it's going to make your overall marketing programs a lot more effective. So one of the things that you could do is use systems like, obviously InsideView is really great. It's probably the best solution on the market right now to kind of take a lot of the business triggers, deliver to you, and work automatically within your CRM or marketing automation system. But there are other solutions out there as well. It's a little bit more cumbersome to work with, but using things like Hootsuite, using things like News.me, and a lot of the news aggregators can really help you stay on top of this. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to actually import and turn that information into something like a Marketin or Eloqua would be able to leverage. But the information is out there, and I think it's important to be able to add this into your database. And by doing that, it's really going to help provide you a better view into your prospects and help prioritize those leads in a more realistic way for your sales team. So being able to leverage this information through things like scoring programs that you might be doing, or helping to inform marketing campaigns is pretty key. One of the things that we do at InsideView, a big kind of relevant event for us, is when a company gets funding. Typically, when someone gets funding, they're going to start investing in sales and marketing, which, for InsideView, that's awesome. We want to talk to those people, and we do very well, and it's just a very relevant event for us to go in and do. So we listen for those things within our prospect database, and we actually start going after them and starting to message them with a very proactive message of, hey, congrats on the funding. Here's how InsideView can really help scale and grow your sales and marketing solution. So you're taking a traditional marketing message, which might be, hey, here's our great new product, and actually flipping it into something that's a lot more relevant for that prospect, which is, hey, we realize you just got funding. We understand what this means for your business, and here's how we can actually help you achieve your goals, which are going to be starting to come down and change because of that recent event. And then once you've got a clean database, you've got a really great kind of data policy and data management, you've got enrichment, you've got brand new leads coming in, you're starting to take advantage of these business triggers and putting them into your CRM and marketing automation system and leveraging them in campaigns, you can actually start flagging some of this. So this is in Marketo, they've got the notion of interesting moments. Most marketing automation systems are going to have something similar to that, where you can basically just flag an event as having happened. And if you're able to map this back to your CRM, what it allows your sales team to do specifically is take a look at all of the leads that they have that have recently gone through and been funding, even though they may or may not be currently working with them at large. And you could do a whole bunch of this stuff. So even if it's not necessarily something that you want to push to the sales team immediately, if they want to go in and do a call campaign against something like a funding announcement or something like that, by having this stuff into your CRM and ultimately kind of telling this story to your sales team, they're able to easily build lists of leads that have gone through this type of information, this type of event, and be able to leverage that in call campaigns. They're able to send out emails and actually run traditional sales campaigns against these events as well. And this is something that you could do as a marketing org to really help point your sales team in the right direction and arm them with some really great talk tracks and campaigns that they should be able to gain a lot of interest within your prospect or even your existing customer database. And then finally, so once you've got them kind of calling into those, the last thing really is to kind of help sales prepare for the calls. And at InsideView, we obviously use InsideView. And one of the things that we feel is really important is to arm your sales team with the right insights and the right talk track on that first call. That's going to be the first impression they have, most likely, with someone at your company, not just your marketing collateral, but actually someone on the phone talking. And so you want to make sure that that phone call is going to go off well, the meeting is going to be a success, and your company is seen as a trusted advisor and someone who really can help that person or prospect achieve the goals that they need to be able to achieve. And something like InsideView can really go in and do things like call prep, give you industry profiles, and actually help to connect those business insights that you're providing into your CRM with that with that first call meeting prep that most of your sales teams are going to be doing. If they're not doing call prep, they definitely should. But being able to kind of provide those insights into your sales team is really going to be just a slam dunk. You're going to be a hero, and they're going to you'll make their job a lot easier because you're going to instantly make them experts at the industry, even down to things like barriers to entry, how easy it is, what the competition looks like, challenges, good questions to ask actually on that first call. So it's going to be a really great way to kind of connect what you've done in marketing and really carry that all the way through to the first sales call, which should really help with pipeline and revenue. And so that's pretty much it. That's going to be the last kind of step. It's a fairly straightforward process. Obviously, it's going to take a little bit of work, especially with the first two. If you want more information on InsideView and InsideView for marketing specifically, it's insideview.com/marketing. We've got some really great sales and marketing tools that will help you do all of this stuff. And it's really easy to kind of plug directly into your CRM or marketing automation system. We work with all the major guys, so usually a very easy integration process.